Introducing Barb Rentenbach. Here's how Barb describes herself. I don't look normal. I appear to be quite messed up and a prime candidate for nothing but pity and patronization, with a sprinkling of repulsion and fear. I am disguised as a poor thinker. In fact, Barb is a brilliant thinker. She has much to say to all of us, but she is mute. So Barb invited a bunch of friends to come into the studio one day and read some writings from her upcoming book, I Might Be You. She says it will be better that way. It will nicely illustrate the point that we are all flecks of God, all diverse, yet all important to this world. Barb would like to thank her friends for giving voice to these readings. Her voice may be lovely and elegant one day, but right now, it's still in the shop.
As an autistic, I have not always been involved in mankind. Man has not always been kind to me. To be fair, I have not always been the effervescent beauty pageant poster child, spending her only wish on world peace. My swimsuit interview would have been damning, as my autistic sash would do little to hide the girth of my anger and thighs.
Before Words reinstated my personhood passport in 1992, I was very much an island and wrote of my non-ironic volcanic state in Synergy.
Do you know what life is without friends? Not much, I tell you.
Humans are a companionable species and need friends. People with autism are human and thus need friends. Help! But we aughts must first ready ourselves. Like the old joke of a guy praying with vigor every day at the altar for years on end that God would let him win the lottery. Finally, beleaguered Jesus shook free from his crucifixion statue and exclaimed, "Okay, but buddy, please buy a ticket." Words are the ticket.
A couple of years ago, a friend, my first totally non-paid, threw me a lifeline. I had the ticket to ride. I instinctively grabbed and hung on for my not-so-dear life. I was 36 and did not possess a noetic understanding of friendship. Only the word was familiar to me.
For many of us autistics, society has thrown around the word friend to refer to other kids in our special, the kind of special that no one wants to be classes, preferred caregivers, fellow sun-baked aughts at well-meaning summer camps, guilt-free peer mentors, and even our teachers and principals. Remember the cutesy little spelling tip our instructors bounced about how to differentiate the homophones principal and principal, with the latter being our pal? BS.
My new conviction is that friendly is quite distinct from friend. People may or may not have been friendly to me. The latter often depended upon who was around to see. A non-mute who witnessed, of course. Now, I feel what a friend is.
You see, over the last 2 years, I gained true acceptance from not one, but 2 neurotypical cohorts. They're not damaged goods either. Each about my age is physically attractive, very educated, and delightful. The purity is that these 2 buddies connect with me under our own steam. Obligation fuels no part of our bond. They're not paid or service providers for me in any way or tied to my family. Our only roles are to enjoy each other and have each other's back. Evolutionarily most beneficial.
How did this happen? Here's my best guess. They read my book.
In Synergy, I wrote, "Evolution has not wired all of us to attain such relationships easily. Some humans do not give having friends much thought. It just happens naturally. One top-heavy toddler hugs the tiny neck of another. From there, they battle with sharing and acquire language and exchange it as a limitless commodity."
Like cheap oil in Dubai, words fuel friendships, and that vital product is taken for granted by the indigenous. Not being from the land of cheap words, autistics have a very hard time making non-paid friends. But I finally did it at age 36 by getting words, and lots of them, out there. Then 2 beings were able to relate to me in a new way.
My slick words were expensive and time-consuming to excavate. It's hard to find good help in dystopia, but I did. My smiling shrink Lois helped me drill down and find my crude words. The refinement process took years.
Eventually, my product was ready for market. In Synergy and other publications, I shared my past, humor, dreams, flaws, and interests. The same stuff you normals do on your first friend date. Jessica liked what she read and contacted me for a chat. After a few email correspondences, I was able to establish my footing. I began to understand that she was not seeking something from me, but seeking me.
It took time to acclimate. I was incredulous at first. Jessica was a PhD student in educational psychology, same field as SS. I fished, but reeled in no evidence that she wanted to study or treat me. Curious? Surely this gal had many good friends, and Jessica is simply not the gold digger type. I can divine the vein a mile away.
What did she want? Should I open the door? After eliminating a series of possible motives, I calculated that the worst-case scenario was she is another cloyingly pious God Squad activist who believes hell does not discriminate against mute autistics and is making sure no salvation rock has been left unturned.
I did not allow myself to entertain a best-case scenario, so fortified with my most powerful religious arguments. I met Jessica at Smiling Shrink's office for a face-to-face so I could communicate with FC.
We had a riveting conversation. Turns out, religion was a topic, but that may be more my doing since I was prepared to spar. We met like this a couple of times. Jessica never did give me a Watchtower pamphlet, instruct me on how to accept Jesus in my heart, or ask for a donation.
We simply began to share aspects of our lives, along with plenty of good food, wine, and music. Simply is an interesting word choice for something that took 36 years to happen.
After I answered the door for Jessica, Liz came a knocking. A girl could get used to this, and I have. Another friendship followed this one, and I see no end in sight as my welcome mat is out. Words don't fail me now.
Before Jessica and Liz, I suspect my most practical knowledge of what friendship is was by knowing what it is not. I picked up this approach from negative theology, which is the attempt to achieve unity with the divine good through discernment, gaining knowledge of what God is not rather than describing what God is.
The premise of negative theology is that nothing positive and definite can be said about the nature of reality, because it is beyond knowing. That is where I was before Jessica and Liz. The good news is like God. Friendship may be beyond knowing, but it is not beyond feeling.
I feel God. I feel friendship. Now, to figure out what is God and what is friend.
A few practical implications lifted from my first book concerning making connections with those of us with autism. Number 1, get to know us. Let the person with autism know that you genuinely want to know who they are and what they do.
Everybody has this knowledge about their self, although most have it hidden under a bushel. Autistics traditionally have huge bushels weighing down their heads. It is a challenge, but all are capable of discovering who they are and what they do. Let it shine.
Be patient. What normals perceive as waiting and wasting time, we may view as being. Like well-seasoned Tibetan monks, we are in no rush. Autism may serve to provide individuals time and space to contemplate, more so than any convent or monastery.
Nonverbal autistics waste no time on vows of silence. We simply live it.
Number 3, be open. If you truly want to know an autistic person better, open your mind, be still, and politely ask. Rinse and repeat.
Remember, we might be you, and who wouldn't want to be friends with you?